back to the Knitting in the City podcast. Hello, if you're a new viewer, welcome. Thank you for checking out this podcast, and welcome back if you're a returning viewer. First of all, I want to thank some lovely ladies who you all well know, or if you don't, you should check them out. Tracy and Jody from the Grocery Girls. They mentioned me on their latest podcast, and they only have 8 episodes out, I believe. And I have been binge watching them. I didn't know about the podcast, to be honest, until someone sent me a message on Instagram saying, hey, you should check this lovely podcast out, and they mention you. And since I've been away from podcast land and have been very busy, I haven't been watching any podcasts, and I didn't know about these two. Just in a few months, they have grown to one of the biggest podcasts there is, and it makes sense because they are so much fun. It makes you want to crawl through the TV or your phone or whatever device you're watching them and cuddle next to them at their kitchen table to talk about knitting. It seems like so much fun to have a co-host. I enjoy a lot of podcasts that have 2 hosts of the podcast. Some of them I still have to watch. They are on my to watch list. But the Grocery Girls are so much fun, and they seem like such sweet girls or women. So thank you for mentioning me, and if you haven't checked them out, you should really do so because they have some wonderful projects. They are fun, they make you laugh, and also one of the hosts is the maker of the Miss Brown bags. And I haven't had a bag of her, but it seems they are very well made and very pretty. And they have a very good taste in fabric. She even makes her own fabric. And they're just a lot of fun. But because of this, a lot of new viewers checked out my podcast. So I will say a little more about myself than usually. I'm Susanne, and I come to you from Europe, and I live in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam, which is the 2nd largest city here. And I'm 28 years old. We just bought a house. We're now in a rental apartment, and we're getting married in September. So lots of exciting things happening for us this year. We have a wee little dog, a sausage dog or a dachshund, mixed with a Jack Russell. So he's very sweet, and he's lying on the sofa sleeping right now, so you might see him when he wakes up. But he's very lazy, so don't count on it. I have a lot of pink things for you this podcast. So if you're not a big fan of pink, then this is not the episode for you, I'm afraid. Because I have, first of all, a finished object. And I've been wearing it. And it's another Cladonia shawl. I made one already for myself. And this one is made for a friend. And I'm actually quite jealous because I kind of like it myself. I really love the color of pink. And the lace opened up very, very pretty. So I'll take it off for you. This is knit with a fingering weight yarn that I dyed myself, and it's a blend of baby alpaca silk that gives it a bit of shine and cashmere. So a very luxurious yarn, and it's a bit, the fabric is knitted on, I believe, a needle size 4 or 4.5 millimeters, and thus you get this kind of see-through fabric. So it's very loose, it's very drapey, and it's not a very heavy or warm shawl. So it's great for spring or autumn when it's like in between weather, not really cold. And I just like to wear it like this, loosely draped over around my neck. And it's a great shawl also to wear indoors. And yeah, the lace is very, very pretty. I did a different bind off than the pattern states. I did a simple picot edge bind off, and I followed a tutorial on YouTube for this, which I will link in the show notes. Show notes will be on the Ravelry, in the Ravelry group, which you can find by searching Knitting in the City in the groups tab, and you will find it. And I have show notes for all the episodes, so you can see with links to my Ravelry page with my projects, and all the notes are in there. So you can find the needles, the yarn, and adjustments if there were any. I already made this cladonia, which is how it is supposed to be, with namely with 2 colors. So you knit with 2 colors and you get this stripy effect. I have chosen to do this one in hedgehog fibers and another one, I don't even remember. But it's a very subtle stripe, and I liked the effect of a subtle stripe. This one is in 1 color, but I did alternate skeins. So you get a bit of a semi-solid result. And the picot edge should be more like this. So you have, yeah, I'm not sure how this is called, but you have this loop, these loops. And I found it very fiddly to knit, and also I wanted a more sleek and clean effect, so that's why I did this edge. And I'm very pleased with it. So this has to go to a friend of mine now, unfortunately, although maybe she won't like it. And then I can keep it. But I knit 2 of these. The Cladonia shawl by Kristen Kapoor, or Kapoor, not sure how to pronounce. And I really like the pattern. It's just plain stockinette to begin with, and then you get this nice interesting lace pattern, which is not too hard to do. So yeah, lovely pattern, lovely yarn, if I may say so myself. And it's a finished object, so that's fun. I have no shawl on the needles right now, which is a first, I guess, since starting this podcast. Because I have been into sock knitting, as the whole knitting community is right now. Drinking a sip of my coffee in between. I have been knitting socks for my fiance, because he really likes his knitted socks. I knit him a pair of simple Skype socks, and it is a lovely pattern, and I think it's very suited for guys. But I wanted to do a different pattern this time. I wanted to use some self-striping yarn by Yarny and Carlos, Regia. And it's in the Bamble colorway, which is colorway number 2460. And it's the yarn that I showed you last time. It's this one. And it's a designer edition by Yarny and Carlos. And I knitted on a needle that I bought a long time ago, circular needle. So I'm knitting them in magic loop, but it turned out to be so big. This is the sock. I did a fish lips kiss heel with the contrasting heel or color. And you see the pattern is pretty nice, or at least I think it's very nice, especially for a guy. But it's way too big. It's very long and it's also too wide. And my gauge with these needles and this yarn, which is a pretty stiff yarn, so you have to, I don't know, with softer yarns, I find it more easy to have a tight gauge. I don't know if that makes sense, if any of you recognize this, but the difference is huge. Look how big this thing is. It's very loose, and my fiance doesn't fit them. They are way too sloppy for him, and even my dad didn't fit them. So I have a baby brother who's almost 2 meters long, and for him it was okay, but even a tad on a tiny bit on the big side. So I will finish them for him because I've never knit him a pair of socks since he has such big feet. But now he will have a pair if I ever feel like finishing it and making another one. But it was a bit of a bummer, and also my fiance was very bummed out because he really wants another pair of socks since he wears his other pair all the time, and if they are being washed, then he doesn't have any other pair. So I started another sock and this is just a vanilla latte sock, so in a tweed yarn. Yeah, I don't even know the brand of this. It's a tweed yarn that I bought for a baby sweater that I never finished. And I was looking for a yarn that was suited for a guy. I have a lot of pinks and a lot of semi-pink colors and very light colors, and I wanted something a bit more tough, I guess, looking. So I chose this tweed yarn and I just did a 2x2 rib, and the vanilla latte pattern is just plain stocking net with a knit 6 purl 2 and then a row of knitting and then knit 6 to purl 2, and then you get this pattern. And you can see the difference is, I mean, it's huge. I mean, there is like over an inch of difference. And I cast on 64 stitches, and with this one as well. Although these are my Zing 2.25 millimeter needles, and these are knit on a 2.5 millimeter needles, but I didn't realize it would be that big of a difference. But it's, yeah. So my fiance doesn't like his socks to be too long, so I will probably already start knitting the heel, and I want to do a contrasting heel, I guess, but maybe I will just do one in the same color as the rest, as the cuff, but we'll see. So 2 socks on a needle, and 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 2 socks I am not done yet. Oh, I totally forgot. I also have a little clip of me blocking my shawl. I will put that at the end of the video because maybe some of you are interested in how to block a shawl. You can do it with blocking wires, and I do it with um, blocking pins by Knit Pro, and maybe find that interesting to see. I will put it at the end of the video. But back to socks, or sock talk, as Tracy and Jody from the Grocery Girls say, because I also dyed up some self-striping yarn. I have seen so many self-striping socks on Instagram and on Ravelry, and I love them. But they are hard to find, or at least I feel indie dyed self-striping yarn is something that is not easily available here in the Netherlands. So I have to find a good source of indie dyed yarn. There is a lot of commercially dyed self-striping yarn, but I don't really like it. So I want to get some more self-striping yarn, but I have to find some great sources. So maybe you guys know some indie dyers that do self-striping yarn that I haven't heard of. I know Jinx Yarns does a lot of awesome self-striping yarn, but I don't know, maybe you guys have some tips and help me out to find some great self-striping yarn, because I would really like some of that. But because I couldn't find it, I decided to try and dye a skein of yarn in a self-striping pattern. And when you dye self-striping yarn, you have to have normally a skein of yarn is like a loop that is around this size. So it's a tiny loop, to say. And when you want to dye self-striping yarn, you have to make a very big loop. So you have to make the loop around 10 meters or more. To do this, you can either put like a pole in your garden and another one and walk back and forth and make a very long loop, or you use a warping board. Warping boards are normally used for weavers to warp your loom, and it's still a lot of work, but then you don't have to walk around and you can make a loop on a warping board. Laura from the Dyer's Notebook shows you how to warp this warping board and to make this big loop. It's in, I think, one of her first episodes, maybe episode 7 of the Dyer's Notebook. And next to a warping board, you can also use a warping mill, which is similar to a warping board, but then it's vertical and you can spin it around and then you wrap the yarn around. I don't know. If you don't have a picture of it, it's hard to know what I'm talking about, but Andy from Andre Sue Knits, she has a little video as well about warping on a warping mill. I believe it's episode 23 or something from our podcast. So, but I don't have a warping board or a warping mill since they are pretty expensive, and I don't know if I will be dyeing a lot of self-striping yarn just for fun. So I decided to put 2 chairs very far apart from each other and started walking back and forth to make a very long loop. So I have a picture of the yarn being wrapped around the chair. My fiance was looking at me sitting on the sofa and being like this. So he thinks I'm special. Let's keep it at that. So once you wrapped your yarn around the chairs or board or whatever tool you use, you have to tie little knots every few centimeters or meter to prevent this very long skein to get all tangled up. And you divide it in my case, 3 parts, because I wanted 3 different colors. But if you just want 2 colors, then you just divide it in 2 parts. And if you want 4 colors, you divide it in 4 parts, and so on. But I soaked it, and it got tangled. And it was a lot of work to get the whole thing warped around the chair. I was so done with it. I just hang it on a hanger or like on a drying rack and just left it. And the next day I returned to it and I fiddled a bit with the yarn, and then I managed to untie all the knots and I could use it again. So I was very happy. I dyed it myself with some acid dyes, and it's very fun to see when you hang your hank or your skein to dry that it's a very, very long skein of yarn. And I'm very pleased with the end result. This is how it turned out. And I put my yarn back onto the chairs and I wound this ball, and it's 75% merino yarn, 20% nylon, and 5% sterina. So there's a little bit of sparkle in there, and I use 2 types of green, and the white is speckled with some pink and some deep purple. And I just couldn't wait to knit with it. So I started the sock. And so far, let me get all the tangles out. I am up to here. So I did a fish lips kiss heel with a contrasting color. And this is how the stripes look. So, yeah. There's a slight contrast between the 2 greens, and then there's like the speckly white. And now I'm back to the white again. Just a 2x2 rib, nothing special. A plain stocking knit sock. And I already did the heel, but I kind of wish I did a few more stripes before I started the heel. So yeah, but it's okay. I can't wait. It's very addictive, you guys. If you have a self-striping yarn, you just wanna knit the next stripe and the next and the next and the next. So you just can't stop knitting these. And the yarn is very soft. I like it. And I'm very pleased how it turned out. For an experiment, it's pretty nice. So I will be knitting these for the socks call that knit along that Kristen from the Yarngasm podcast is hosting the Box of Socks call. And the purpose is to get at least 12 pairs of socks for yourself and put them in a box. That could be a small box, could be a big box. And I really want to have more hand knitted socks since I wear them almost every day. I wear them in sneakers, I wear them in like ankle boots. I just love them. And although summer is coming, I don't care because it will probably not be that warm here in Holland anyways. So, and these are very fun and in kind of spring colors. So, yay! That's very nice. So I will probably dye up some more self-striping yarn because it's really fun to do, but it's also a lot of work. So I understand why self-striping yarn tends to be a bit on the expensive side, but it's totally worth it because you have to it is so much more work to prep the yarn for dyeing, and also after you're done dyeing, it's a lot more work to wind your skein. Because I couldn't put it on my yarn swift because the loop was of course way too big, so I had to walk around the chairs again to make this ball. So it took me quite some time, and maybe if you have like a warping board it might be better, but yeah, I don't know. So what else? Yes. Next to socks, I started a sweater. And I'm not very much into knitting garments. I mostly knit accessories like socks, shawls, some toys, blankets, but not garments. I don't know why. Maybe it is because they are a bit new to me. I made a featherweight cardigan once, but I made it too small, and I made it with a single ply lace yarn, and it felted after I worn it for 2 times. So it started pilling and felting, and I did a gauge swap, or swatch, sorry, but I just knit a size too small, I think. I don't know, but I cannot really wear it, so I might need another featherweight cardigan, but with for a bigger size. So. But anyways, I also did another sweater that I never finished. But I thought, well, let's give it another go. And I started on a pattern by Isabel Kramer. And it's the sweater called Pink Memories. And it's a very simple sweater, and it has like garter stitch at the front, and it's worked in like 2 color sleeves, so they're a bit of color blocking, but I'm not sure if I want to do 2 colors. I might just want to work on 1 color. And it's knit with a sport weight yarn, and you work it with or I work with a 4mm needle. And this is the yarn that I'm using, which is by Badenwolle. It's the Baden Fluff, and it's 100% merino, and it's very fluffy, it's very soft, and I love the colors. It's a bit more on the neutral side because I like a garment to be a bit more neutral, because I often wear a lot of gray, a lot of dark blue, and yeah, I think I can wear this all the time. So far I knit, it's a bit of a mess, but I knit the top and you start off knitting back and forth to shape the neck, and then you start knitting in the rounds. And well, I'm now just increasing for the sleeves, and there's not much to see right now. A little pie stitch marker over here. And yeah, I really like how the colors work out. I didn't do a gauge swatch. I know, it's very bad, but I was more... I wanted to have the right needle for this yarn. So I thought with a needle size 4 millimeters, it gives a very nice fabric. So it's a bit on the loose side, but you get a very nice stitch definition. And it gives this lovely drapey fabric, which I like for a sweater. And I thought, well, I'll just start knitting and measure how big it's gonna get. So I did measure my gauge at the back at this part, and it's almost exact as the pattern says it should be. It's a tiny bit on the bigger side, but that's okay because I would like to have this sweater with a bit of positive ease. So yeah, can't wait to knit some more on this. It's a very pleasant knit. I love the yarn, but I already told you I'm a big fan of Badenwolle yarn. She makes some lovely sock yarn as well, and I can't wait to finish this. I'm knitting on my carbons. I got them a while ago, and to be honest, the combination of this yarn, which is a very soft and smooth yarn, with this yarn, with this needle, is perfect. I love it. I really love it. So yeah, I did alternate skein a bit, but I find it a bit of a hassle to do so. So I stopped doing that, and now I will start alternating skeins again when I reach the end of my first skein. I don't know if that's a smart thing to do, but we'll see. Yeah, and I will join the 2016 sweater along. Thank you for... No, I didn't notice this sweater call by Mina from the Knitting Expat podcast. And some of you sent me a message saying, hey, you know, there is a sweater along going on at the Knitting Expat Ravelry group. So I'll be joining that knit along. And yeah, so far it's pretty fun. So I think that is all. Thank you very much for taking a bit of time of your day to talk to me, or at least listen to me. If you have any suggestions, comments, questions, just put a comment in the Ravelry group, send me a message, or tag me on Instagram, since I'm very active over there. I'd love to see what you guys are working on. Again, if you have any suggestions on indie dyed self-striping yarn, give me a heads up. Maybe you are an indie dyer, let me know. And I will leave you with some footage. My fiance and I went downtown and we had a lovely evening with lots of sushi, and we also went into a ferry wheel, I believe it's called, and we had an amazing view on the city of Rotterdam. So I'll leave you with that. And a bit of footage of blocking my shawl. So I hope to see you next time. Happy knitting. Bye.
Ziet zijn de vest wel of helemaal liggen?
I just wanted to show you how this shawl is blocked. So I use these mats, and they are not for knitting, they are just for little children. And I bought it at a toy store. And I use these pins, and they are from Knit Pro knit blockers, and they come with small and big pins, and they are stainless steel, so you don't have to worry about any rust or other type of problems that you will encounter with steel or iron. So you get this kit and you get the big ones and some smaller ones, and I mainly use the bigger ones, as you see right here. So what I often do is that I start in the middle, so I see where the middle is. In this case it's pretty easy since all the lines are coming towards the center, and I pin it, and then I pin all the edge, I pin the edge of the shawl, the bottom edge. And once that is done, I start again in the middle, and then I pin all the picot edge bubbles or picots, and then work my way around until I reach the end of the shawl. And then this is how it will turn out.